Before we start, let me make one thing clear. This isn't just another story of an athlete's struggle. This is a story from hell. When I first heard the name Mo Farah, I thought I knew who he was. A champion, an Olympian, and a national hero. But I was wrong. Totally wrong. When I learned what he lived through, I couldn't stop myself. I read a 400-page book on his life, then another, and then 3 more. Only then did I finally understand the man behind the medals. And today, I'm telling you that story in my own simple words. When Mo Farah first arrived at school in London, he was quiet, withdrawn, and struggled to fit in. Few people knew who he really was, or where he had come from. His teachers noticed that he often seemed distracted, but the moment he stepped onto the playground, something changed. During a PE lesson, his teacher, Alan Watkinson, spotted a boy who moved with extraordinary speed, light, effortless, and far beyond the rest of his classmates. Mo's coordination, stamina, and natural pace caught Watkinson's attention immediately. It was clear this child had something rare, raw athletic ability. Watkinson encouraged him to take running seriously, enrolling him in local school competitions and introducing him to structured training. Mo responded with focus and discipline, quickly winning small races and showing remarkable improvement week after week. For the first time, he began to experience something new, belonging. On the track, he wasn't just another quiet boy. He was someone who stood out for all the right reasons. Running became a language he understood. It gave him purpose, direction, and confidence in a world that had often felt uncertain and isolating. Watkinson noticed that beyond the speed and stamina, there was something else driving Mo, a deep determination, as if he was running toward more than just a finish line. His talent grew quickly. He began representing his school, then competing at local meets, where his performances drew attention from other coaches. Teachers and students admired his ability, but few knew about the personal struggles he carried in silence. Despite his growing success on the track, Mo rarely talked about his family or life outside of school. His past remained a mystery to everyone who knew him. Watkinson, however, began to notice small inconsistencies, details in Mo's story that didn't make sense. He would mention family members that no one had met, or speak vaguely about where he lived and who he stayed with. Something about his situation didn't feel right. Concerned, Watkinson quietly raised his observations with school authorities. They started looking into Mo's background, asking questions that led to more confusion than answers. What they discovered would change everything. The boy known as Mo Farah had come to the UK under a different name, with no official documents, and had been living in conditions that no child should endure. It was the first step toward uncovering a truth that even Mo himself had struggled to understand. A truth about who he really was and where he had come from. Before becoming Mo Farah, he was Hussein Abdi Kahin, a small boy born in 1993 in Somaliland, a region torn apart by civil war. His early life was defined by fear and uncertainty. Armed conflict surrounded his village, and violence was a daily reality for families trying to survive. Hussein's father worked on a cattle farm. One day, his father was caught in the crossfire and lost his life, a moment that shattered the family's sense of security and stability forever. The war separated Hussein from his mother and siblings. Communication was nearly impossible, and like many children during that time, he became another casualty of chaos. In search of safety, relatives arranged for him to leave Somalia, believing he would be taken to a better life abroad. But what awaited him was far from the promise of safety. At around 8 or 9 years old, Hussein was brought to the United Kingdom by a woman he had never met before. She claimed she was his relative, but she was not. Upon arrival in Britain, the boy who had left Somalia as Hussein Abdi Kahin became Mohammed Farah. His real identity and background were erased. He was given false documents and told never to talk about his past. He was told that his family no longer existed. For a child, those words were both confusing and devastating. Instead of attending school like other children, Hussein, now called Mo, was forced into domestic work. He cooked, cleaned, and cared for younger children in the household. He had no freedom to leave the house, no official identification, and no support system. His life revolved around chores and obedience. The isolation was overwhelming. He didn't understand why he had been taken, where his mother was, or what had happened to his real family. Every day felt like survival. He couldn't speak English and was terrified of being punished if he disobeyed. The people around him told him to stay silent, that speaking out would get him deported. Despite everything, Hussein never lost his instinct to move. Whenever he found short moments outside, he would run. Not to compete, but to feel free, if only for a few minutes. That running, unstructured, spontaneous, and pure, was his only escape from the reality of being trapped in a life he couldn't control. Over time, the woman who had trafficked him eventually enrolled him in a local school, mainly to avoid suspicion from neighbors and authorities. It was at that school where his teacher, Alan Watkinson, would later notice not only his extraordinary talent, but also the inconsistencies in his story. When asked about his parents, Mo often changed the subject. When asked where he lived, his answers didn't make sense. Teachers grew concerned, and eventually, Alan Watkinson began investigating further, reaching out to local authorities for guidance. Through this process, the truth began to surface. Mo Farah wasn't who official records said he was. The name, the story, the guardians, all of it had been fabricated. He was alive, and now, finally, he was free. For the first time, the boy who once ran to survive would run toward a new beginning. When social services intervened, Mo Farah was moved to a caring foster family in West London, the first place he truly felt safe. His foster mother helped him adapt to normal life. For the first time, he had comfort, meals, and stability, simple things he had never known. Still, the scars of his past lingered. Mo spoke little English and often felt lost in classrooms where he couldn't express himself. But when it came to running, he didn't need words. His speed, rhythm, and endurance spoke for him. Alan Watkinson, his physical education teacher, immediately recognized his gift. Mo wasn't just fast, he had control, determination, and natural grace. Watkinson took him under his wing, becoming more than a teacher, a mentor who gave him structure, guidance, and belief. Through Watkinson's support, Mo joined local athletics clubs and began racing in small regional meets across London. Every finish line became proof that he was building something new, a life defined not by what had happened to him, but by what he could achieve.
Mohammed Farah, what's your ambitions? Olympics? Yeah. Imagine it.
As Mo's talent grew, so did his confidence. He began winning school races and cross-country events, drawing attention from coaches around the country. Yet behind his growing success, paperwork and identity remained a challenge. The name Mo Farah had been given to him illegally, and his legal status was uncertain. Watkinson worked with authorities to help Mo regularize his situation, ensuring he could stay in school and compete officially. The process wasn't easy, but for the first time, Mo's life began to align with the identity he had built through sheer will. In 1999, he won the English Schools cross-country title, his first major victory. It marked the turning point from survival to ambition. That win opened doors to national-level training, and Mo began to see running as more than passion. It was his path forward. The boy who once ran to escape was now running towards something real, a future he had earned. Ahead awaited tougher tracks, global competition, and the weight of expectation. Mo Farah's next challenge wasn't just to win. It was to prove he belonged among the world's best, and more importantly, he was to tell his real story and his identity, which only a few people knew, to the whole world. As Mo Farah entered his late teens, his name began circulating through British athletics. Coaches, journalists, and scouts recognized his natural endurance and unique ability to accelerate late in races. His transition from school-level competitions to national events wasn't easy. Balancing training, studies, and part-time jobs tested both his discipline and mental strength. Mo trained relentlessly, early mornings before school, late evenings after classes, often running alone through London parks, visualizing victories that still felt distant. In 2001, he won the 5,000 meters at the European Junior Championships. It was his first major international medal, a moment that confirmed his potential on a continental stage. But success brought new pressure. Competing against elite runners from Kenya and Ethiopia forced Mo to confront his own limitations and identity. He was representing Great Britain, a country he now called home, yet deep down, he carried the story of a boy from Somaliland who had survived impossible odds. That inner conflict pushed him harder. He wasn't just running for medals. He was running for belonging, to prove that he had earned his place in the nation he represented. Over the next few years, Mo faced inconsistency. Victories were often followed by setbacks, missed podiums, injuries, and races where he fell short of expectations. Many wondered if he had already reached his peak, but those who knew him best, especially Alan Watkinson, never doubted his resilience. Mo responded with renewed dedication. He began training with elite athletes and gradually improved his endurance and tactical awareness. By 2006, he secured a silver medal in the 5,000 meters at the European Championships. A year later, he claimed gold at the European Cross-Country Championships, cementing his rise as one of Britain's top distance runners. Despite these achievements, Mo felt he had reached a plateau. His performances lacked the explosive finishing power needed to compete globally. In 2011, seeking transformation, he made a bold decision to move to the United States and train under the renowned coach Alberto Salazar. The move was controversial. Some questioned his choice, others doubted whether the new environment would help. But Mo was determined to evolve. Under Salazar's guidance at the Nike Oregon project, Mo's training intensified. He worked on speed drills, altitude conditioning, and mental focus, transforming from a strong European athlete into a true world contender. The results came quickly. In 2011, he won his first World Championship gold in the 5,000 meters and silver in the 10,000 meters.
It's a silver medal for Mo Farah.
The world finally knew his name. That year marked a turning point. Mo Farah was no longer a promising talent. He was a global force, and his story had only just begun. For the boy who had once run to escape, every race now carried purpose. The finish line had become a stage for redemption, proof of how far he had come. Ahead lay the defining moments of his career, the Olympic Games, where Mo Farah would not only run for victory, but for history itself. By 2012, Mo Farah had become one of the most recognized figures in international athletics. His transformation under Alberto Salazar was complete, faster, stronger, and mentally sharper than ever before. Every training session in Oregon had pushed his limits. The combination of endurance and tactical brilliance turned him into a finisher no one could match. That year, the world's attention turned to London, the 2012 Olympic Games. For Mo, it wasn't just another race. It was the chance to win on the very streets where his journey had begun. The pressure was immense. Great Britain expected gold from their homegrown hero, and Mo carried the weight of both a nation's hope and his own history. On August 4th, 2012, the Olympic Stadium roared as Mo took his position for the 10,000 meters final. The crowd chanted his name, Mo, 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 with every heartbeat.
Can they get another?
The race was grueling. For 25 laps, Mo stayed patient, conserving energy, studying his rivals.
Knows the danger and goes along with him.
Then, in the final lap, he unleashed his trademark kick, a surge of speed that left the world's best behind. He crossed the line first, arms wide open, face filled with disbelief and joy. Mo Farah had won his first Olympic gold, the first ever by a British man in the 10,000 meters. Just 7 days later, he returned for the 5,000 meters final. Once again, the stadium erupted. once again, Mo delivered. A second gold. 2 victories. 2 unforgettable moments. Overnight, he became a national icon. The boy who had once been voiceless now had millions chanting his name across the world. Mo's signature Mobot celebration became a global symbol, a gesture of joy, humility, and gratitude to the people who believed in him. Behind the medals, though, his drive didn't fade. Mo continued to train with the same hunger that had once carried him through pain and loss. Between 2013 and 2015, he dominated the distance running world, winning multiple world championship titles and extending his reign as one of the most consistent athletes in modern history. But his ultimate test came in 2016, the Rio Olympic Games. Mo Farah had achieved what few athletes ever could. From a boy without a name to one of the greatest distance runners in Olympic history. His triumphs weren't just about speed, they were about survival, identity, and the unbreakable spirit of a man who had outrun his past. But even in moments of glory, shadows have a way of returning. And for Mo, the next chapter would test not his legs, but his truth. After conquering the Olympics twice, Mo Farah stood at the pinnacle of global athletics. 4 gold medals, countless records, and universal admiration had made him one of the greatest distance runners in history. To the world, he was the symbol of perseverance, the man who had defied odds and carried the pride of Great Britain to unimaginable heights. But behind that glory was a chapter he had never dared to share. In 2015, whispers of controversy began to circulate. Mo's longtime coach, Alberto Salazar, came under investigation for doping-related violations connected to the Nike Oregon project. Though Mo was never accused of any wrongdoing, his association with Salazar drew scrutiny. Headlines questioned his integrity, and the pressure of defending his name took an emotional toll. He distanced himself from the Oregon project and focused on maintaining transparency, insisting that his success came only from hard work and clean competition. Still, the questions hurt. Behind the scenes, Mo was carrying a heavier secret, one that had nothing to do with sport and everything to do with who he truly was. For decades, he had lived under an identity that was not originally his. The world knew him as Mo Farah, but that name was given to him when he was brought illegally to the United Kingdom as a child. He was, in truth, born Hussein Abdi Kahin, a boy from Somaliland who had been trafficked to Britain under the promise of a better life, only to end up as a domestic servant. The details of his past had been buried deep, known only to a few. Even his closest friends and family never fully understood the pain that shaped him. For years, Mo had feared that revealing the truth could jeopardize everything: his citizenship, his reputation, his legacy. So he kept running, literally and emotionally, from the ghosts of his past. But in 2022, Mo decided to stop running from it. Partnering with the BBC, he shared his real story in a deeply personal documentary titled The Real Mo Farah. Sitting before the camera, he recounted how he had been separated from his mother as a child, trafficked to the UK under a false identity, and forced to work in a house for years before being rescued. For the first time, he called himself by his birth name, Hussein Abdi Kahin, and spoke about the fear and silence that had haunted him throughout his early life. The revelation sent shockwaves across the world. The public who had celebrated him as a hero now saw the full truth of his journey, not just a champion, but a survivor. But instead of backlash, the reaction was overwhelmingly supportive. Messages poured in from fans, leaders, and fellow athletes expressing admiration for his courage and honesty. The UK Home Office confirmed that no action would be taken against him for how he entered the country as a child. For Mo, that moment was a release, the weight of years lifted in a single breath. In interviews that followed, Mo admitted how difficult it had been to speak out. He had kept silent for so long because he didn't think anyone would understand the trauma he carried. Yet, by revealing his truth, he gave voice to thousands of children who had endured similar experiences. Children trafficked, displaced, and forgotten. His story became a catalyst for change. Charities, educators, and lawmakers began referencing his documentary as a tool to raise awareness about child trafficking and modern slavery. The same courage that had once fueled his athletic victories now defined his legacy off the track. Mo had proven that honesty could be as powerful as endurance. To the world, this revelation was shocking. But to those who truly understood him, it explained everything: the drive, the hunger, the deep emotional fire behind every race he ever ran. In facing his truth, Mo Farah transformed from an athlete into something greater, a symbol of hope, resilience, and redemption. For the first time, he wasn't running to escape or to win. He was standing still, proud, free, and finally at peace with the boy he once was. In 2023, after more than 2 decades of professional competition, Mo Farah announced his retirement from athletics. It was the end of an extraordinary era, one that had turned a once-lost boy into a global icon. Standing before a packed stadium, he smiled as the crowd roared one last time. The track that had defined his life now became a place of reflection rather than pursuit. Retirement didn't mean slowing down. Mo shifted his energy toward family, philanthropy, and mentoring young athletes who shared his hunger and determination. Through the Mo Farah Foundation and other initiatives, he began supporting programs focused on education, child protection, and community development, causes deeply connected to his own past. Away from cameras and medals, Mo found peace in simple things: school runs with his children, quiet mornings at home, and time spent teaching young runners that greatness begins with belief. He spoke openly about resilience, about how success is built not just on talent, but on surviving the moments when no one believes in you. His story became more than a tale of athletic triumph. It became a lesson in identity, humanity, and the power of speaking one's truth. He may have finished racing, but his story keeps running in every child who dares to dream beyond their circumstances. As the echoes of stadium cheers fade, Mo Farah's journey stands as one of the most profound in sports history. Not just for the golds he won, but for the truth he found. From the dusty roads of Somalia to the bright lights of the Olympics, his footsteps trace a path of survival, courage, and grace. Behind the medals is a man who ran not for fame, but for freedom, a man who turned pain into purpose and fear into strength. Mo Farah didn't just run for gold, he ran for freedom, and in doing so, he taught the world what it truly means to never stop running.